only beaten the lower tier of teams. Africa, Freak, CJ Entus, ESC Ever, and Longzhu. A couple of those teams have been on a bit of a rise, but they beat them while they were at their lowest point so far in the split. So even with them being second place, we can't judge too much off of their successes. But here we go, straight back into pick and ban. This is looking pretty familiar. Karma Sivir still taken away by JinAir. Just do not want to hand either of those champions over to the side of SKT. Rise will be the final ban, very necessary. And we can see Nidalee and Vladimir so far from SK Telecom, and Azir will be the final ban. So LeBlanc is open.
Yeah, it was smart of SKT to ban Vladimir. Second rotation for them. They didn't want a scenario where either Azir, Rise, or Vladimir popped over at first pick, and this is a champion that rose up in terms of priority during the Champions Spring Final and may actually be first pick worthy in this series. We've already seen Jin struggling heavily. Lucian has largely left the building after his latest nerfs on 6-11, so Ezreal is a viable first choice. Well, there's still a lot of other power picks, the jungle pool as well, but with Elise and Rek'Sai both available, Kindred also, they're happy to select Ezreal first pick for Pilot.
Yep. He did have a pretty good game on that in the first. But Bang was playing as Jin, which sort of just fell flat, but we can see this time Bengi going to get his hands on the Elise. Played Rek'Sai and Gragas so far, so he's going to be doing 3 different ones as he rotates through the pool. Kindred nowhere to be seen quite yet. And Nami for Wolf going to be keeping it very consistent 3 games in a row.
Was Kuzan going to default to something like Victor is my question for JinAir, despite the fact that Victor's very much back in terms of play rate. His win rate in Champions this season has been very low. It's about 40%. Yeah. So, been a bit of struggle street for that particular pick. I'm really not a fan of picking Graves into SK Telecom as a team. The jungler needs to farm up against the team who likes to take the game away in the mid game. But there's a lot of jungle picks available, Kindred included. Winged is an excellent Graves player. He will return to the well. If Wing can make a big play at level 2 where Graves is actually very powerful, maybe he can make it work. Otherwise, I would have favored the Rek'Sai, one of the more standard jungle picks from JinAir.
See though, Lucian, one that's been passed up throughout this entire series, getting a bit of a hover there, has lost some of his power with this recent patch, so the length on that piercing line is going to be shorter, as is the Ardent Blaze. His passive change didn't really affect anybody, because...
Oh, baby.
Here we go. So it's going to be LeBlanc lock-in for Faker. Going to take that one blind, knowing that Shay probably would have rotated it here.
Certainly a bit of a murmur around the crowd when we saw the LeBlanc locked in, and if you follow solo queue, Faker's been playing a lot of teleport LeBlanc. He has played Teleport LeBlanc in competitive before, but has been pivoting away from the Ignite Summoner spell, so this is definitely a pick that he's always got the mechanics ready to go on. Famously in his career, 14-2 on the LeBlanc, the first loss. Everyone will never forget the 5th game of the MSI final last year.
Yeah, that was some damn good bait.
Talia's finally enabled this week. We saw our first Talia hover, the Dream. Dream is probably dead.
We'll see Alawi before we see Talia.
That's probably true. Alawi's been out a lot longer. Talia eventually will hit the Rift, and Faker Talia sounds super interesting to me. But
seems like the Koreans still just aren't very impressed by Alawi.
That's true. She is very feast or famine in the top lane, and we haven't even seen Aurelia today, let alone something like the Alawi. It's going to be the Lissandra mid pick from JinAir.
So not something that we see a lot of recently, but Kuzan did play a hell of a lot of Lissandra back in round 1 and 2 of the spring split, so it does pick that one up, and it's going to be the Trundle for Trace, and Duke gets his Fiora.
So obviously JinAir were aware that Duke had continued to play the Fiora in scrims and solo queue. Duke has always been an excellent Fiora player, but we haven't seen it on the Rift for quite a while, and we'll return to it this game. The famous matchup we were more used to was Lissandra top versus the Fiora, that Fiora was able to outscale the moment she could get QSS during a game. Speaking of QSS, we have a battle of the 2 top laners who've been most buffed by the removal of non-CC status effects from the QSS. No longer can you QSS the Grand Challenge or the Trundle Ultimate. And Kuzan back on Lissandra. An oldie but a goodie, but a very safe choice into, I mean, one of the great terrors of any mid laner in competitive play, Faker's LeBlanc.
Good pick composition here from SK Telecom. Have the Cocoon, the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, plus the Bubble and Tidal Wave there from the Nami, as well as Disengage for that ultimate. But going to be going up against that Thresh that could very easily snatch up an Ashe.
Wave clear isn't magnificent for a 1-4 comp. Every comp with Fiora ends up being a 4-1 comp unless you have a Lulu in the mid lane, but they have Ashe. Again, they have some decent wave clear, and if Faker gets lane pressure and kill pressure onto Lissandra, that wave clear, any wave clear worlds go straight out the window.
Yep. See where he wants to go for that build. Could be Pistol Scepter very early on for Kuzan, but here we go, guys. Game 3. JinAir looking to take down SK Telecom and give them their first match loss in the summer split. Let's get it right into it. Hooray, it's another Cloud Drake.
SKT will appreciate that. The Cloud Drakes seem to open up their victory in Game 2. We are here in a now looking like a very full Seoul E Stadium. Of course, match is starting at 5 p.m. Some people will struggle to get here for Game 1, but by Game 3 of this series, we do have a full house.
Yep, looking pretty good. This is probably the second most full that I've seen the audience. Maybe even fuller than before the SK Telecom KT match.
A lot of fans out there.
See all of the signs being held up. Unfortunately, my Korean's not serviceable enough to read any of those.
Pick up words here and there, but won't take a risk on it. Winged once again going for this Jungle Graves with the Thunderlords. Now, last time we saw Winged play Jungle Graves, it was earlier this week, and let me tell you, he went for the most aggressive Jungle Graves build I've ever seen, stacking armor penetration with Youmuu's Ghostblade, Duskblade of Drakthar, and further damage. No team fighting from that Graves was going to be necessary, and you know, Kuzan gets a pick on someone and Wing stacks AD, then we could certainly see some pick power from JinAir as well.
Thunderlords, Graves. More damage than you ever expect to take.
I mean, when you have Youmuu's and Duskblade of Drakthar, let me tell you, damage is real.
Yeah, that's some burst. Bang though throws out that volley, finds Che and Pilot in the brush. We'll have our 2v2 at the bot side.
Che's like, all right, this time I need a range support. Please, no more laning woes like he found on Alistar. Alistar very much forced out of the meta with his last suite of nerfs.
Well, now with this Thresh, definitely going to be trying to grab that Ashe.
Bang notable, despite being a long-term player who's played in Champions for over 2.5 years now, for only playing the 3 games, I believe it was, of Ashe. Has never put a lot of time into this Champions, trying to grow his pull with Ashe and utility AD carries in general. With carries up top, it makes sense to have initiation from somewhere, and the support role will, sorry, the AD role would do that.
Trace trying to push that early advantage. Standing up with the Corrupting Potion, just shoving Duke off of these minions as best as he can.
I tell a lie, 3-0 on Ashe, so 3 games ever. Duke on Fiora. Duke is a Master Fiora. There's a couple of Master Fioras in this league. Someday Smeb and Duke all have been excellent on this champion. Was the only carry in a tank meta. Now in a carry meta, still finds some play.
Kuve tries.
He plays it, and they win sometimes. That's all I'm going to say.
Maybe not because of his efforts, but...
Cuve's the big question mark for Samsung. He's the guy who I think really heralds their struggle, in that he needs to pick up something that fits the current meta. He was really struggling against Longzhu a few days ago. Yeah.
Ruler's been the shining light so far.
Rookie's just shining light. That can sometimes be a problem, and they just need a supporting cast from him. Crown certainly is that, but Cuve needs to find his speed on this patch.
Yep, recall comes in from Kuzan, just going to go ahead and use the TP to get straight back in. So it does have that Null Magic Mantle. Looks like we will be seeing the Abyssal Scepter first item. Whether or not Faker wants to mimic that, we will have to wait and see.
One of the reasons why the Fiora was the right pick in this draft, because you see Trundle, you don't want to pick a tank. You'd obviously rather go into a damage dealer. If it was a mage, it would have been triple AP on the side. And it's also Elise LeBlanc already, so it was already pick burst AP damage. So you would have definitely seen heavy magic resist itemization. So going for a physical damage carry, one of the ones that makes sense is this Fiora. I think Aurelia actually would have been an excellent pick against the CC from JinAir, but passed over this time by Duke.
I'm not going for it. The Trace did use his teleport just now. Called got double longsword. will rejoin this top side. Faker taking a hell of a lot of damage as he goes in onto Kuzan.
Kuzan's first purchase. That's the one of the things I want to say, Kilios, is didn't go for a second Doran's, went for Null Magic Mantle, and it's really helped him in these trades.
Yeah, it's very evident there as he just keeps coming out on top in HP. Wing does get a little bit of invade there over Benki. Will find himself with a CS lead. Faker still sticking around. Kuzan not in a position to dive, doesn't have that level 6. So Faker will be safe for the time being to pick up these little bits of CS, but you can see he is already falling behind. Gonna have to blow the teleport to get back and try to pick up this wave. Actually cancels the TP.
Good pathing from Winged. You saw Kuzan had to overextend to push that last minion wave into turret. Elise was cheating towards the gank in the mid lane, but backed away. So it was there for the counter gank if it happened, Wing.
Now we're gonna see June returning to the top. Double longsword as well, but has a Doran's blade in the inventory, so we'll give him a slight little edge as far as HP and AD goes.
We're going to be running towards the same item. Tiamat.
First hook comes out on the bottom side onto Wolf. The bubble comes up, and Benki is here to collapse. Exhaust goes out. Chang gonna have to flash away, but he still gets caught. Nice prediction there by Benki. That's gonna be first blood going over to Bang, getting this Ashe rolling.
Just not the right time for Che to look for the hook. The moment that he committed to that, answering CC was going to be pretty inevitable with Exhaust and the Aqua Prison available for Wolf. First blood comes over to SKT.
Yep, very nicely played. Good roam by Benki. Get himself that assist. And Winged is still, of course, just going to be farming, not really able to respond to that gank as he had just recalled.
Without Thresh in the lane, no CC to
going for blue smite
on him.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting. That is actually very aggressive. Not a lot of synergy between Skirmish's Saber and Graves because of his lack of attack speed and his reload mechanic on his autos.
A lot of time we see the Tracker's Knife just for that increased vision control, but gonna go for the Chilling Smite here. So
taking a page from Battle Bengi. Not this game though.
Not
Bengi's
this
been
game.
returning to the Tracker's Knife.
Yep. He says, well, I won't go so far as to get a Sightstone, but I will contribute somewhat.
As a vision addict, it's hard to really give up the game completely, so you go for the coping mechanism, you go for the approximation. No sight stones, but still the Tracker's Knife.
Yeah, you can't, you have to taper off.
It's a hard habit to shake, you know?
You can't just cold turkey the vision. You have to taper it off, else you go into that shock, that withdrawal.
Meanwhile, Peanut went on holiday to Phuket and clearly picked up the vision over there. That habit. Oh. So much warding this season from that young boy.
Not a whole lot else.
No.
But, well, we'll have to keep our eyes on him because we have him coming up next.
That's true. Rocks vs. Longzhu.
I'm not going to lie. It felt like this was actually the last set of the night, but I realized this is just the first. This is only the beginning.
And crazily, the hype levels for Rocks Longzhu, and just such a unique place after Longzhu took out Samsung, in very one-sided fashion.
Yeah,
some great games just 2 days ago.
This is the first time that matchup's been hyped since maybe the first time they clashed at the beginning of the spring split in round 1. So definitely a change of pace as far as that goes.
Only 1 day to prep for this match. Not ideal for Lustboy and his Chargers, having to prep first Samsung, then Rocks. No ability to look past those teams for a team like Longzhu that's for so long has been languishing on the bottom of the ladder, but I'm really excited to see how they stack up. Fortunately
for them, Rocks has been suffering a bit, so that might give them enough leeway to actually come out swinging and find a win. Kuzan taking a hell of a lot of damage as the chain connects. This is going to be Bengi coming in. He's got that glacial path, however, will take himself to safety. Doesn't even have to use the flash.
Null Magic Mantle was turned into the Negatron Cloak, so even with the full rotation from Faker coming down, with no Ignite, there wasn't the kill pressure. He will be looking towards the Merlinomicon as the first pickup, which is pretty standard on the LeBlanc.
Yep, Wing's going to come in here, try to pick up some of this CS and not have it just go to waste, but he loses the cannon. So,
epic sadness.
Very much is. Trace is going to roam down and look for Faker. This is, you are going for an LeBlanc. He uses the distortion, however, goes back in for the double, so now doesn't even have the ultimate, takes the turret shot. Faker, yet again, going way too aggressive. Gets taken out, a solo kill by Winged.
I have a very surprised look on my face. As Faker literally gets solo killed. Trundle wasn't even necessary. We were counting the dashes to see if there would actually be a chance to be trapped by the Trundle, but took a turret shot, it exploded, and wow, it was not characteristic of Faker.
Nope.
Not on the LeBlanc especially.
You can't tilt now, Faker. You don't have another game after this one to come back and play Fizz.
You're giving gold to the man who built full damage on the Graves last time, so let's see how manly Winged is feeling. I have to imagine he'll need at least a more Malmortius to deal with being exploded on his own by the Faker.
I think you just innately feel pretty manly if you're playing Graves. Oh, that's going to be the Frozen Tomb down on the Duke. Nothing more he can do. Kuzan finds a kill. Suddenly it's 2-1. And just a couple hundred gold separating these two teams. Dragon not yet coming into play, but JinAir making some good rotations around the map. Very good roam by that Lissandra. Oh, Pilot still, that was an interesting interaction. Still gets caught by that one. Wolf, though, gets grabbed up. The box is there. Can't even finish the tidal wave, and he's going to go down.
This jungle pathing from Winged is excellent to track.
Faker
Kuzan at mid.
taking a ton of damage. One more Q and a couple auto attacks would do it, but Kuzan just doesn't have the cooldowns up. Frozen Tomb obviously just being expended up in the top side. Faker going really aggressive, flash forward by Wings, can't chase any further.
Oh, his ult was just a couple of seconds off cooldown as well. That probably wouldn't have been enough to take down Faker.
It would have been really close. But wow, let's take another look at this up top, so it just catches him off the backside of that dash.
And we couldn't tell if the W was up for Duke. Either he didn't have time to react or he'd already used it in a trade against Trundle, so once that stun had come down, burst was always going to be registered, but the jungle pathing from Wing to be in position in the bot lane was really nice to see. That was great synergy between the duo and Winged. Iceborne Gauntlet first pick up for Pilot.
Yep.
Yeah, we are going to see the replay of this. Winged is just in the exact right spot. Prediction of the flash by Che. Goodbye, Nami.
I mean, that seems to be just the story so far, is Winged being everywhere that he needs to be. Not to mention coming up with a solo kill on Faker. That was pretty good. Duke, though, starting to get a bit of an edge in that topside matchup as he's trying to get the Black Cleaver finished out. Already has the Phage picked up. But using those weak points, really hammering that true damage onto the Trundle.
If Trace is fighting in a minion wave, I think all the sustain from the King's Tribute passive might be enough for him to win the 1v1, but it's going to be very close.
Yeah. Well, looks like they will just disengage off of that Dragon. It's just a Cloud Drake. It's not worth shedding blood over. They will back off, but JinAir are starting to come up with a bit of a CS lead here.
SKT really doubling down a lot of people around bot lane.
Yep, trying to get in there, but not going to be able to take away the Krug. And look at Trace going ham. Forces out the grand challenge, but Kuzan's here as well. Duke in a really bad spot. TP is going to come through, but he still gets caught out. Cancels the teleport from Faker. And the Fiora goes down. 4-1. 1,000 gold lead here for JinAir. SKT just not able to find any steady ground to stand on.
I mean, Duke really needs Bengi to show some presence around top, and it's not necessarily a gank, but some vision. They have one pink ward very shallow in their red side jungle, but nothing else, and twice Kuzan has been unleashed on the map. Walk top. That time we knew W was down. It was always going to be a kill. Faker's teleport just not being able to channel fast enough. There's no way for them to answer that. And this is just, honestly, bad jungle pathing from Bengi. He needs to provide help in what is a snowball top lane matchup between Trundle and Fiora.
Yep, there's a 4-man investment on the bottom side of the map, but they can't even find a dive to go for. So they all just have to back off. Bang does have a little bit of a CS lead, but we can see now Pilot has completed the Iceborne Gauntlet first, has that tier stacking up, so he's going to be able to kite away this Fiora and this Elise who just want to get on top of his face.
The jungle pressure, so the lane pressure in bot lane to allow for this red buff steal. Ash can also send an arrow, so Bengi lying in wait.
He's getting hit by that red minion. We'll find Wing, catches him with a cocoon. He gets popped up into the air, but that's going to be the lantern down. They can't chase him, and Winged will make it out alive.
And Bang doesn't send over an arrow. May have been flashed over. We'll never know, but do not secure the kill with that.
Really interesting that he didn't just throw that out. All of the chain CC, and he could have denied that lantern take. Bubble will land on the Pilot, but the hook comes out. Wings here, but they don't go forward onto Wolf. Bengi's taking away the Cloud Drake. Looks like he will be able to secure this one unless Wing can throw the collateral damage for a steal. It's a little bit of a reset. They don't have vision in the pit quite just yet. Smoke bomb comes down, they will be able to take this one away, but the very minor pickup, it's not going to do a whole lot to stop the bleeding.
There was a green ward, so they had vision of the dragon down to about 1,500 health, but their charges just didn't have the cooldowns or the items ready to contest that one.
Well, Faker going to get grabbed up here by that Frozen 2. He snaps back into the middle, but Winged one more auto attack will take him down. Faker dying for the second time this game. Just not been playing this one so well.
It was off his own mistake. The death was very needless under the enemy turret, just trying to harass a Graves, and then from there, the snowball has been real. LeBlanc is still a snowball laner, and is really struggling in this game.
Yep. Benki's going to try to hold on to this mid tower. It's whittled down to about 30%.
Top lane, the lead is growing for Trundle.
Oh no, Benki gets grabbed up, the box comes down, Kuzan takes the Lantern to come forward, and he's going to get popped by the Thunderlords. Tidal Wave all too late. Benki just walking into the face of danger, and he pays for it dearly.
I mean, both teams with a pick coming. Both teams, when we're talking about the Thresh Lissandra and more obviously the Elise LeBlanc, JinAir's just been better, and Winged is making this Graves pick work. He has had so much more map pressure than his opposite number. Double dash was used by Faker once again. They waited for it, they got it, and Faker's dead.
Yeah, he is. Oh boy. Well, now we can see the scuffle on the top side. Duke flashing away, but here comes Winged on the back side. And look at the damage. The Thunderlord's Graves doing work. That's going to be the tier 1 tower going down in the top side. And JinAir are really starting to stretch a gold lead now, as they are looking close to 3,000 up. 16-minute mark, and SK Telecom just scrambling to try to do something, but there's just nothing that they can take.
Every time Winged hits a lane, his purchase for being there is rewarded. There's pick power in multiple lanes, but his laning, and specifically his movement around the map, has been so great to watch. You can see blue ping, Graves was there, and knew exactly what was happening. They had the insurance of sending Kuzan over as well. He can't even get involved, such as the speed at which they take out the Fuhrer, and again...
Oh, jeez. Yeah, meanwhile, on the mid side, Kuzan got caught up by that. Enchanted Crystal Arrow is able to flash away with a Glacial Path to take himself to safety. The hook from Chain not going to connect. We'll have to get a replay of that one to see exactly how this transpired, but all in all, no one's going down. So maybe we won't have a replay. We'll see what happens.
Again, Duke needs help. He hasn't got it at any point. He's now had 3 deaths because first the mid laner, then the jungler has come top, and Bengi has spent the whole game on the bottom side of the map, babying the bot lane matchup, while Graves has had his way in every lane.
Yeah, Winged has been doing wonders right now for the side of JinAir. Definitely a different game compared to the last, where Bengi was able to just invade onto his face with the Gragas and take away multiple camps.
Games like this make you wonder why we see not that much Lissandra, because when Lissandra is unleashed on a map, you get just devastating games like this, when you have a snowball matchup, show up, no W available, it's always going to be a kill onto that Fiora.
I just find it so interesting that Faker still went for the Morellonomicon instead of the Abyssal Scepter to help mitigate some of that damage.
It is worth noting that both Trundle and Lissandra have a lot of self-healing mechanics, so cutting down the healing is very relevant, but not having a Negatron is really meaning that he doesn't have lane pressure when he's against his opposite number in Lissandra. Lissandra just has the advantage in the 1v1.
Yeah. Not to mention, she, with her Abyssal Scepter, is already reducing what little magic resistance he has, so she's just going to be hitting him for pretty much true damage. So, very rough spot to be in for SK Telecom. The question stands, you know, how do they get themselves back into this one?
They try and slow the game down. They do have double teleport available right now. Their CS numbers, especially given the texture of this game, are actually quite good. Only the Fiora is significantly behind. The rest of the members are either equal or slightly ahead. So it's not panic stations just yet. It's just been a lot of free gold over to JinAir in unnecessary fashion, which has kind of been the story. We've flip-flopped between SKT making mistakes in Game 1 and JinAir overextending in Game 2, and now we're coming back full circle.
Yep. So far, the only objective being taken by SK Telecom is that tier 1 on the bot side, plus the Cloud Drake, so not going to count for a whole lot just yet. Push coming in on this mid side from JinAir's 4 members are nearby. Faker goes in trying to pop Wing, but he dashes away from the distortion, so he will retain at least half of his health. But this at least gains SK Telecom a little bit of ground in that mid side.
It's still a minute 10 till Dragon, so harder to punish these recalls from JinAir with an objective. Only Pilot is alive, has Iceborne Gauntlet and the ultimate available, so should be able to help with the wave clearing. Kuzan doesn't need to recall either.
Oh, well, see ya. Herald.
It's built a couple of times from Lyssandra's with Rod of Ages second, Abyssal Scepter for laning phase, and then Rod of Ages to have some relevant stats in fights afterwards. Seems greedy. Obviously, the payoff will only be around 33, 34 minutes.
Yeah. Still a ways to go. But the question mark on where Faker's going to take this one has been sitting on that Amp Tome for a while.
Leandri's is what we saw from Kuro in a similar position in previous games, but it could be the Abyssal Scepter as well. Builds out of the Fiendish Codex now.
Yeah. Or just maybe looking for a little bit of immediate power into something like a Void Staff. I'm not really sure.
There's magic resist on every member barring the support, so there's a chance of that.
Another Cloud Drake. So, won't be taken quite just yet.
I actually agree with what you're saying in terms of Void Staff second. I think it's always situationally been a good item build, but when you're this far behind, you can't get a snowball, needlessly large rod item second. I think Void Staff at least gives you options against everyone on the side of JinAir when it comes to getting a pick on the LeBlanc.
Yeah, you definitely need to be able to rotate somebody and at least push them below the half HP mark. Looks like JinAir might start this one up. Still, Crab Vision is on the side of SK Telecom, but again, not really worth fighting over. Just take some time to get some CS. We can see though, Faker goes in, does a good little bit of damage and will shove them off the Drake, so just going to be backed away from, and JinAir will let it stand. So who knows when this thing's actually going to go down.
Ninja Tabi on Duke actually gets him a lot of value against the triple auto attackers in Graves, Trundle, and the Ezreal. Was buffed on this patch as well, so
2% increase.
Don't think he will be able to 1v1 this Trundle just yet, though.
Yeah, still a ways to go. This has that Tiamat with the Black Cleaver so far, so not going to be the big tank buster that he wants to be.
Always feels bad when your enemy top laner has magic resist against a purely physical damage opponent.
He can still beat the crap out of you.
You're just like, really?
Just wallops him. See the size of that club?
Where's Officer Trundle when you need him?
He's on vacation.
The dirty word of League of Legends, vacation.
Yes, it is.
No one's allowed to have those.
Not in Korea, at least. Well, unless you're Peanut, but we'll see. We see how that one forms, though.
He picks up bad warding habits, as in he wards too much.
He's supposed to just be the ward. Oh, okay.
Goal! Oh, that's a different.
Shot it straight through Winged Violet.
I'm just trying to make something happen. You see Kuzan has lane pressure in bot side. Trundle has the run of top side, so Bang looked for an aggressive arrow, but nothing to be found.
Nope.
Rod of Ages will pay off around the 32 minute mark, sorry, for Lysandra.
Look at this. Trace is just going to try to brute force his way onto this red buff, even through Duke.
He's 2 levels up, so
yeah, he should be able to take this one. JinAir, in the meantime, going to go for this Cloud Drake. Benki and Faker waiting in the jungle, but just opting to not fight for it. What's it going to be? It's going to be an Ocean Drake. So 2 clouds and an ocean.
Winged keeps piling on the CS, 17 up, and with all the early kills, is clearly in a nice snowball position for himself. Will soon be the Maw Mordia, so will allow him to position aggressively against Faker and Bengi. Be more of that team fighting build that we've come to know and love from Graves players.
Yeah. Well, SKT, as you mentioned, certainly slowing things down, trying to stop hemorrhaging objectives as best as they can and get these lanes caught back up. Bang is still in a lead as far as the AD carries are concerned. Faker very much Probably the largest disadvantage right now, other than maybe Duke. Actually, yeah, definitely other than Duke. Wolf, though, gets caught out by that hook. And look at the damage coming through. The arrow not going to connect, but here comes Kuzan. Pops him with the Frozen Tomb. Will be able to take out the Nami just like that. Duke trying to go aggressive onto Trace, but the rest of JinAir are getting ready to collapse up this top side. Completes the grand challenge. Trace just flashes into his team. And Duke goes over the wall. Not a whole lot of places he can go, so he's going to have to try to execute, but he's still a full HP Fiora. Oh, TP.
Looking for the teleport.
He's got the TP.
Oh, Kuzan missed the AoE of the W.
Wow. What a terrible Lissandra.
That was actually a pretty big mistake. Could have just gone.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty good. Wow, he comes right back in for Trace. What were you doing? Trace, oh my god, just hands him the kill on a silver platter.
But the balls to just re-enter lane after making the defensive teleport and straight up kill Trace.
I need a replay of that one. That's great. That's the last thing that I expected to happen.
That's the last thing Trace expected to happen.
Clearly. Wow, that was really good. Now Duke actually might be able to get that tier 1 tower as the one in the mid goes down, and SK Telecom finally picking up some objectives. It's still pretty beefy, but there's 15 seconds on Trace and no one to answer, so he should be able to take this one out. So wow, nicely played by Duke.
And that lets you know that the item timings right now mean that, especially if he's away from a minion wave, Duke has the ability to burst down this Trundle. You'll notice when the first fight was happening that Trace flashed out of, it was again away from a minion wave, away from the King's Tribute and the Ravenous Hydra lifesteal. And if you're just fighting away...
Alright, so here we go. So Kuzan,
so
he's going to miss this barely. Oh, yep, barely misses that one.
If he had walked up, he would have been able to interrupt it, but assumed that Duke was teleporting right on the edge, and Duke just literally walks into lane.
Trace walks towards him.
Yeah. I don't think he was watching his screen that closely.
Okay, well... It wasn't even like a sneaky, like I'll go around, I'll come through the bush and I'll find you. It was just, hey, how's it going? Banky though, they caught out by that Frozen Tomb, but Wolf is there to back him up with the ebb and flow, and Banky is still decently tanky on that Elise.
Another Ash arrow goes to the Nether Realm. Did not hit anyone. Bang.
Come on, bang.
The Negatron Cloak did a lot of work for Banky, so
yeah,
that's one of those situations actually is more important than just burst not killing someone, and that Banky can be like, wait, this burst isn't actually, taking out a lot of my life bar, and it gives you a bit more confidence going into future fights before something like a Void Staff is finished for Kuzan.
It's pretty negligible. Let's see though, it's going to be the Zonia's completed here for Kuzan. Finished the Rod of Ages about 5 minutes ago as well, so we'll see that completed at about 32 for the stacks. Bang's still sticking well ahead of Pilot on that CS figure, but just can't make these arrows stick.
We'll have to track to see how the extended trades between Trace and Duke go. Remember, this game was all about setting Trace up to carry. He got a lot of help from his mid laner. Didn't get any kill involvement himself, but was able to get a significant experience lead. But we just saw Duke, over the course of 2 extended trades, win the 1v1 matchup.
It's a very extended 1v1. Kuzan, though, has that Frozen 2 back up, goes straight in onto Faker, who just double distorts out. Should be able to get out with his life. The arrow comes through, actually connects, and Kuzan, from downtown in the mid lane. True shot barrage, and Faker's just like, God damn it.
The screams of the SKT fans literally transitioned right into the screams of the JinAir fans.
That was a good little, double crescendo.
Yeah.
Roller coaster ride. Oh!
Squeals all through Seoul East Stadium. Now they're going to try and push this mid turret.
Gotta get a good amount of damage in here, but Wing's taking a hell of a lot. Pilot getting slowed up. Shay gets popped into the air. They don't have the arrow quite just yet, but they're still able to confirm the kill. The TP just now coming in from Kuzan. Looks like he does cancel it. So not going to be joining his team, but another kill picked up here for SK Telecom, who are holding on by a bit of a thread at this point, but they're still taking the necessary steps to get themselves back into this game.
When it was 7-1, they were certainly holding on by a thread, but the last 10 minutes or so have been pretty much exclusively SKT. We got to the moment...
We'll call it a rope.
Sure, they've got a rope. They certainly seem to be using it aggressively, given that Duke now is able to split push out this outer top lane turret. They've won the last couple of skirmishes as well. Big story is that Winged hasn't been around for most of these skirmishes, been more of an onlooker. They haven't been able to make proactive moves around the map with the Lissandra, and things are starting to steady for SK Telecom.
I'm sure Faker wishes that was an escape rope. So you can just be like, all right, get me the hell out of here.
Not everyone can have a Thresh come by and throw a lantern.
Well, you always need an escape. Pokemon taught me that, at least.
Bengi's decided that he is the bush face checker because Nami cannot do that as a ranged support. Went for Guardian Angel as his second completed item after the jungle item and the Rylai's.
That is the official title, the bush checker?
Yeah, he's the bush checker. As an Aussie will say, bush checker. But I try not to use that voice too much on broadcast.
Why?
Oh, you know.
Because you want people to understand you.
Yeah, that's, you know, that's what I'm going for. I have a large American audience that less aware of that Aussie accent.
Oh, well, Pillar going to go on the wrong side of Bengi. Knocks him a little bit further away. Dragon started up. Again, it is the Ocean. Will be taken away by JinAir. SK Telecom just want nothing to do with this one. They have Duke splitting up in that top side.
It's the last of the Drakes before
Death Brush.
The Elder Drake.
Death Brush. Arrow comes in, finds Kuzan. Flash away by Jay. Keeps himself safe. True Shot Barrage taking a little bit off of Bang. They're not able to find any opening. Duke roaming over, just going to go back to that top side and try to get some damage onto that tier 2 tower.
They're trying to make moves. They do not want to send Trace into the 1v1 that he's slowly losing against the Fiora, so they want to make a 5-man pick.
Oh, here we go. Winged. As that X-Trigger pop gets rooted down by the chain, but Faker taking a ton of damage from that collateral will have to back off.
Trace does get an answer split push, but loses half the HP of the inner turret on the left side. Kuzan doesn't have teleport.
Oh, chain comes through. It's a bit of damage. Tidal Wave goes straight into the zone. He has the bubble already used. Can they follow up here? The chain comes through, roots him yet again. Double chain. Has the Frozen Tomb down onto himself, but here comes Bengi. The cocoon gets flashed away from by Kuzan. Duke trying to come in on the sidelines, but he's not able to find the opening. They get the flash away from the Lysandra, and now the ping's coming out onto this Baron by SK Telecom. This would be a really greedy play. Looking for the Death Brush, but Trace just going to throw out the Pillar. Gets that vision.
Well, they know that Graves has to recall. Kuzan probably has to recall as well. We can see that Kuzan has stuck around. JinAir trying to stagger their recalls. They don't have vision in the area. They don't have an easy way to check. Don't even have Ezreal ultimate, although they have that back up now.
They have a Mystic Shot. That's going to do enough. The arrow just going through the goalpost yet again.
Down is on the low side, so we'll have it up in 50 seconds, but the difference between those arrows hitting and missing is pretty significant given that Graves was nowhere to be found.
Yeah. Now, of course, Elder Dragon going to be the next one that spawns as we will be past that 35-minute mark, and it's looking like this tier 1 tower in the mid side will go down. Faker trying to get on the pilot, does a hell of a lot of damage to him, but still unable to find the kill. Tier 1 falls, bang, in a bad spot as Trace just walks forward onto the Ashe, trying to take him down below half HP. The True Shot Barrage will almost do it, and that's going to be a subjugate. Will it kill him? It's not going to happen, but Faker goes down in the meantime, and JinAir are able to just push straight in onto this tier 2 tower. Do they go for the Baron next? I think they very well could.
JinAir makes the practice pit they've been trying to do. They force the Fiora teleport, which is far too late. Faker tries to make something to stop just the single target focus onto Bang. Dies accordingly. Will have teleport when he respawns. Tricky 30 seconds to navigate for SKT.
Yeah, well, they throw out both of the Hawk shots. JinAir can just wait for the vision to dissipate and go straight for this one. Hook not going to connect onto Bengi. He has that Guardian Angels available, so he can play a bit more aggressively behind the pit. Throw down the wards. That will get cleared out of the back. They're going to go ahead and start this one up.
10 seconds on Faker. Remember, he has teleport on spawn.
This could be a very risky play. TP coming in from Kuzan, cutting off Bang. Nowhere to go. Throws out the arrow. It's not going to connect. Has the slow, however, so that will keep him alive. But Wolf, in the meantime, is looking like he might go down. Uses the tidal wave. Faker's just going to zip his way right out of there. Says, you know what? I don't want anything to do with this one. Find some damage on the wing. And they successfully delay the Baron. Throw out the Hawk shot. Clear out some of these wards. And SKT still holding on by that rope.
The war of pressure continues, though. No coincidence that Faker uses the QR onto the Graves. He wants to harass out the Smite. Both teams have to answer massive minion wave pushes, but SKT's is next to the Baron, so a lot less risk in Duke just visiting top and clearing out these minions. Funnel does have teleport, but we already saw what happens if in 3.5 seconds one of the teams with their pick comps can get a kill before that teleport even registers, so still an element of risk entering bot lane if you're Trace.
Both TPs now down for SK Telecom. Trace holding on to his, so he's going to continue that split push on the bottom side. Haven't been able to get too much damage into that one, if I remember correctly, so still going to be a little bit beefy. Now you can see he's roaming up to this mid lane. Wants to be able to fight with this team immediately rather than have to react with the teleport, it seems.
It's been so long since early MSI that we've seen an SKT game that was actually finally poised, but 34 minutes in, there's a couple of thousand gold, despite the kill lead for JinAir to separate these two teams. The Drakes are of fairly inconsequential value when it comes to combat stats, so they're not really a separator as well. One good fight will decide this game.
Yep, that's going to be the arrow coming out. Shay flashes away, but still gets caught. Tidal Wave coming through. It's going to be Kuzan throwing out the Glacial Path. Wolf taking a hell of a lot of damage from these Mystic shots. That one's going to miss. But still not able to find a whole lot. Now SK Telecom basically have to wait for that arrow to come back up for Bang.
Continues to split push. No, we'll be grouping with the team now.
There's still all ultimates up on the side of JinAir.
JinAir's team fighting comp is superior to SKT's. Fiora with no Lulu finds it hard to get team fight value, get into the back line. Ezreal is very difficult to pin down as well. Whereas Bang, whether it's the Lissandra, whether it's the Trundle Pillar, if his flash is down, his team fighting has to be so safe. So SKT, less options in a team fight compared to JinAir.
Yep. Faker just trying to do what he can to chip away at the members of JinAir, but all of them pretty damn beefy at the moment. Pretty much everybody having magic resist. Even Pilot with that QSS.
Locker on both sides as well.
So pretty safe now. Arrow comes out, still finds Pilot, but he's able to QSS off the stun immediately. Pillar comes down. It's going to be Kuzan going in for Bang.
Oh, he got it!
Still gets caught by Frozen Tomb, but he has a QSS of his own. Keeps himself safe. Faker goes in, gets a good amount of damage in onto the Thresh, but cannot find the kill quite just yet. It's just going to be shuffling back and forth, looking for an opening on either side, but blows exchanged by both teams have weakened members that just have to peel back away from each other.
JinAir is winning these poke salvos, so they're going 50-50 while they have excellent minion waves in both top and bot pushing in. They're happy to continue this mid lane 5v5 poke fest. As long as no one dies, they will slowly whittle down the outer turrets of SKT, and they're going to start the Baron and try and draw Fiora away from this minion wave.
Yeah, we can see Duke is already pushing that one up, but they get shoved off of the Baron, so Duke's going to be very happy to stick around and soak up these creeps. Wave crashing into the top side as well. Faker going to answer for that. So SKT buying a bit of time and just continually pushing JinAir away from that Baron objective.
JinAir had no intentions of finishing the Baron. It was literally before Duke can show and bot, start the Baron, try and draw a teleport, but in the end they decide to peel away. They're definitely the more passive versus assertive in this particular matchup against SKT, so they're not willing to really whittle down this Baron and set up a smite wall.
Didn't make the bait. Faker, though, getting a bunch of gold at the moment from all of this CS he's accruing in the top side. Oh, Bengi, maybe in a bad spot. With the Glacial Path as Kuzan comes through, he was able to finish off the Scuttle, so does make it out safely. We'll see where Faker wants to go now with this build. Sells the refillable potion. It's going to be a needlessly large rod for him so far, which we could only surmise is going to be coming out into a Rabbidan's death cap.
Outside chance of Eluden's Echo, the 10% movement speed could be
true.
Very valuable to dodge the pick options on the side of JinAir as well, but yep, those are definitely the big two.
Kuzan with the needlessly large rod in his inventory as well.
Such a different world where QSS is an optimal itemization against Trace and Duke respectively. We would have expected more QSSs on the side of Trace and Duke themselves just to have options in their own 1v1.
Yeah.
Only the 80 carries with QSS this game.
See Duke with the Bloodthirster, trying to really win out those trades. Faker goes in. Wow, really chunks out Winged. Did not pop the Maul of Malmortius, though.
Push aggressively through mid. They want to punish with as many objectives as possible.
Yeah, they're keeping Trace in the bottom side as well, so this does open them up to take this tier 2. The wave going to be delayed a little bit. Bengi going to take this up as best as he can. This should open up for a little bit of pressure, but the rest of JinAir is able to wrap around, and they keep the turret relatively safe, so they only get a couple shots in onto this.
Trace with Guardian Angel now has more options in the split push, so
yep.
While he won't be able to push out, he is very sturdy.
Faker uses the ultimate and the distortion. Kuzan now getting popped up, but it's just going to be A battle of who can whittle down the enemy the fastest. The hook not going to come out fast enough to catch Faker as he snaps back on the distortion. Wing gets caught by that arrow into the cocoon, but that's going to be a lantern waiting. Shay always available to pull his teammates to safety. And now we can see Trace roaming up on that top side. It's going to be Wing popping the
boy!
Blade. Yeah, that's going to be the box coming down. They find Faker, and he is going to fall. Wing taking out the kill, banging the front line, taking a hell of a lot of damage. Still has a GA available. Should he go down, the subjugate has been used. They try to siphon that out. Duke going in, throws down the Grand Challenge on the Tracer. Going to get a good amount of damage in, but on to Bang goes Pilot, and they take him out. And SKT are just falling apart. Duke able to take down Shay, but it doesn't matter. This is going to be a 4-for-1 Wolf, the only member left alive at 40 minutes, and JinAir are going straight down the mid lane.
They're going to try and finish the game. They have a lot of turret taking damage. Even Trundle has an auto attack.
They have it.
I think they might have it, you're right. This will be the first series loss of SKT after their first game loss in game 1. Still 30 seconds on Faker, only Wolf alive.
Yep. Now Trace just tanking up. This turret has a wave, crashes, they get that armor reduction. They take down the first Nexus tower. They're going to take down the second one, and JinAir Green Wings are going to be the first team to take down SK Telecom T1 in the summer split with a 2-1 victory.
What an insane series from JinAir. Game 1 was a bit of a head scratcher. Game 2, that was standard SKT. But in Game 3, specifically Winged, he went for the Graves, didn't even have the options of an Elise in an early game, but he was always in the right spot at the right time. And even though eventually SKT got the Fiora rolling, it was too little, too late. In a different game where Fiora was well on top of the Trundle, I think SKT could have had the pressure in the mid game, but the Ash arrows went wide, the hopes of SKT went wide, and JinAir, this is massive for their season because they are now entrenched as the second team in the LCK.